Hello from the Hoboken Historical Museum. Hello from the Hoboken, hello again, and a third time from the Hoboken Historical Museum. We're streaming out live to Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. This is Hoboken Talks, where on Thursday nights, we talk about Hoboken. I am Lois Dilivio, and I'm thrilled to be here for a third time. We have enjoyed all sorts of guests here, business people, artists, historians. Oh, the Karen Cool evening with Jack Silbert comes to mind for me as just a lovely, lovely evening. Tonight, our special guest is Diane Stiglich, longtime Hoboken resident, artist, business owner, author, martial artist, etc. And we'll be talking about some of these aspects of her life, among other things. So please feel free to chat with us in the comments. We'll do our best to respond. We consider YouTube our home base. So if you miss any of these Hoboken Talks or want to look at some of the other shows we've done, YouTube is the place to look. Hoboken Historical Museum. And it's, season 1, number, what are we up to? 16, 19? I don't know. We're 29. Up there. 29. Woohoo! All right. Well, thank you. Welcome. Welcome, Diane.
Thank you.
I guess a place to start might be, there's so much to talk about, but briefly, how is it that you are living here, because you didn't grow up here?
After graduate school at Mason Groves, about half of my class moved to Hoboken, because in 1983, that was where artists and musicians were. And so I wanted to be there. And so we moved here, and I consider it my home.
Lovely.
I love Hoboken.
Yeah, very good. Where did you live when you first moved here?
1127 Washington. I can look at my apartment from the back of my apartment.
And how many residences have you had here in your Hoboken life?
Oh dear.
Oh, I didn't know it was going to be complicated.
I guess maybe 3,
Okay.
Yeah, 3.
Yeah.
Not so bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what was your first apartment like in terms of?
It was this incredible railroad with a really, really long hallway and it was all very Victorian, and I didn't know what to do with it, but it was really great.
Yeah.
But when we moved in, Jim and I looked at each other and said, well, how long are we going to be here? He said, a year. I'm like, yeah, probably.
And was it about that? Okay.
Yeah. And then we moved down to the shore, and we were teaching down at Richard Stockton College, and we wanted to come back to Hoboken.
Nice.
Nancy Vance had a store, the Crabtree and Evelyn, and I had briefly worked for her. And I told her when she visited me at the shore that I always had a fantasy of opening a lingerie shop. And so that Halloween, she offered to back me. And
wow.
I opened a lingerie store, having no idea how to do it.
That's fast.
And
I remember that Crabtree and Evelyn. Yeah. Evelyn, you say, not Evelyn, right?
Yeah,
it's now, is it?
Mathnasium. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah,
but it was pretty. I mean, it was open, and there was, I don't know, carpeting, or there was like a center table when you walked in that had the merchandise. You could walk around it.
Yeah.
That's my
soaps and smells.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's what I'm
Beautiful
doing now.
Packaging. Oh, that's lovely. It's funny you mentioned the lingerie store, because I don't know, probably a lot of people maybe some people watching have this experience, but I cannot remember where I met people from. Hey, Lisa, thanks for saying hi. Hi. I literally don't remember exactly how we met each other, but I do remember going on the bus to whatever random, temp job I had in the 80s, and looking and seeing that lingerie store and saying, oh, that poor woman, she's never going to make it. Oh, that.
Yes, but artists have very low expectations.
Maybe that's it. Maybe that's it. And then somebody also told me that there was a cartoon. I guess it would have been in the Hoboken Reporter.
Mm-hmm.
What do you remember about that?
It was all the decaying buildings and the boarded up buildings around my little shop. And then it wrote, ooh la la, lingerie.
I don't even know what that means.
I
mean, it's reality, but
Uptown was desolate. I'm sorry.
No,
Uptown is desolate.
Yeah.
And I was the very last place and all alone. But I didn't know. I used to sit in the back
it was
and draw.
affordable. Yeah.
Until people came in. I had no concept. It took me like 5 years to figure out how to do it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, I am, of course, a big fan of your art. I'm an owner of the an original Stiglich original, Diane Stiglich, as opposed to her brother, who's also an artist, but that's a different story. So we actually have some pictures of some of your art. I know they may not be in the best order, but it's this is pencil, and it's about 3 feet high.
Yeah, 3 feet by 3. It's pretty much square. It's a little taller than wide. This was the frontispiece for my book. Have you seen Cindy Slay? This is a drawing of Cindy Slay, because she all of her tarot cards turned into the twos, where two of swords, but she's even lost her swords. So she's pretty much a C.
Is the tarot two of swords is a crossed arm image?
Crossed arms with blindfold and two swords. So she goes on a road trip to.
So ready for battle, but blind, or something.
Or not even ready for battle, but heading in anyway, as is the usual course.
And did you draw this for the book, or you had it and you were like, oh my God, this will be perfect for the book? Or...
Some of the illustrations were before the book. I think this one actually came as I was writing. Yeah. So that's a self-portrait from that time. Yeah.
It's I'm looking at the hands because I don't know if they just released something or they're reaching for something. There's just a sense of, I don't know, flow and past, present and future. Because I don't know where if the hands are coming out of something or going somewhere. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, and beautiful.
That's what art's supposed to do. Ask questions.
And beautiful detailing on the folds of the mask or the blindfold.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Animals. And, so similar in, countenance or attitude or, I don't know.
Yeah.
I love this picture.
That white rabbit is about 5 by 8 feet. Hoboken resident bought it. I'm so grateful. And it's a white rabbit that isn't running. It's pretty much standing by a black hole. But the animals are meant to be somewhat confrontational. It's like they're watching you as much as you're watching them.
Mm-hmm. And I know I went to an exhibit of yours that was one of the themes, if we talk like that, it was a lot of predator and prey dynamic. Mm-hmm. Was that already happening here, or this is before that, or?
I started doing the animals actually came from my martial arts experience. I kickboxed with Master Padilla on 6th and Adams, and you don't really speak. And I was in with these 8 girls, and we would fight, we would spar, and there was sort of a first position, and the alpha girl would be over there, and I was always in the back position by the door. And at one point, Master Padilla wasn't watching, and she kind of shoved me. And I just looked around, and I was like, oh, my God, we're like a pack of wolves, And so I got very interested. And also that kind of thing is very hard to do. And I do get like deer in the headlights. And so it's like working out fear. And it's really interesting to me. And so I started thinking about how animal-like we are and how we don't really acknowledge that part so much. So I've just been presenting animals ever since. Sometimes the predators look more peaceful than the prey. The prey tend to get more aggressive, and I tend to ameliorate the wolves.
Well, the wolves are so playful and like, just you just want to. They're just beautiful.
So
and,
I don't.
Thank you, Melissa. Thank you. Yeah. So the human social dynamics are expressed with the animals.
We're all very like elegant, and we have language, and we do all these things. But underneath, we're like, or like, not this time. You know what I mean? It's like it just surfaces all the time, and it's so that it's like, how do you negotiate with that animal part?
I think a lot of people don't even acknowledge it, frankly.
Yeah.
So there's no negotiating. They're just rolling with it, I guess. I don't know. This is deep. All right. Yes. When you shared some images, I was like, this one must be shown with the range of, I don't know.
And these are close to that, either close to the animal scale, or if they're smaller animals, they're big. So they're sort of the scale of human, so that when you are looking at them, it's sort of like looking at yourself. So they can't be this big because they'd be precious. They have to be big enough so that there's an interaction with you on a little bit more of an equal term. So the bird is obviously much bigger, but the wolf is pretty much to scale.
Fascinating.
Yeah. And I'm also very interested in specters, and that's why they're not in any particular place. So they're sort of like from another place, and I don't have any words for that.
But they're not abstract at all. But I guess the place is abstract or unspecified, or
there's something about the paper, because the white is painted, and the inside the bodies is the paper color, which is ecru, so that it has an air in it. So if you look at the wolf, he actually is filled with air. And then sometimes I couldn't figure it out, and they turn into rocks like the deer. But that you can't control everything when you're making things. You just have to sort of follow it.
Yeah.
This was the first one from that martial arts experience. And this piece is 5 feet high and 8 feet wide. So the wolves are slightly larger than real life, or the same. And this is the wolf pack. It took about 6 to 8 months.
Holy cow.
Yeah. But I was really into it. Then I was like, oh God, enough with the fur.
And that's all standing up. I can't imagine. And then stepping back constantly.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And there's not a lot of you can't erase like very little.
I beat it with a stick. I buy very heavy paper, so I can do whatever.
Okay.
And but one of my favorite, I had this at the shop for one of the arts tours.
Yes.
And one of my favorite things when people will come and ask them, which wolf are you?
Well, it's funny because having heard your story about the women in the class, that's the first thing I thought, because I had no idea that these were inspired by human dynamics and interactions, and seeing that, knowing that makes me think like, well, also which wolf am I? It makes me want to ask you, which wolf are you? But I don't want to put you on the spot.
I'm always the one throwing up in the front. Definitely.
I think I'm the one on the left who's like just trying to be liked and get along, and
like, oh, I don't really see them trying to bite each other.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. Thank you, Melissa. Lovely. Yeah, it's very, very believable, very visceral. I agree. Well, what's the next? Yeah, what's up with the digging and the words and the? I remember hearing you talk about the process and why the letters are more visible on the bird than to the right. I don't know, something about.
This was prior to those other pieces, and I've always written as well as made art. And there was a while there in the 90s, and I used to show at the Secret Ingredient once a year.
Oh my, Secret Ingredient.
Yeah.
Come on, comments on the Secret Ingredient, please.
My favorite place. Jimmy and I would do crossword puzzles there.
I
every
love you more
morning.
today than yesterday.
Yes. I love Gabe.
Oh my.
So there was a point where I was writing on my work. It's just sort of combining the things that were feelings about what I was writing, and or it's sort of loose poems, or I didn't even think about it too much.
Right.
And
I feel like as a art consumer or viewer or whatever, I'm not meant to read it.
No,
maybe
not
catch a word here or whatever, but yeah, that's how it's.
Yeah, this one's about middle age, which you can see on the upper right. And everything kinds of variation sort of goes, and you don't know what to expect, and everything gets a little gray. But when I write the words after the drawing, I would coat it with a thing called matte medium, which is also on the other drawings, so that they are permanent. It's just plastic. It's no color in it. And then while it was wet, I would write, and that's why it comes and goes.
I knew there was. See, I'm not a visual artist, and I have a very small understanding of the materials, but the variety of stuff that you guys have to choose, and then how you manipulate it. I remember something about layers and scratching and revealing and scratching and covering, and yeah.
Yeah, when you start as an artist, it's kind of hard because there are all these aspects. And I think if I have to think of one thing that's great in your 60s, is that it's at your fingertips, but in the beginning, you're like, how do I know how big to make something? And how do I know what materials to use? How do I know what to draw? Right. And I remember my mentor, Will Hips, saying, he actually let me use the I Ching, and we would throw coins. I would write a list of different items, and then we would combine them. And we did idealogues on shelf paper where you just started drawing and just kept going and going.
Right. So it's like, why decide? Here, do this.
Just do it.
Boom.
Yeah, be in the moment. Nice. And then see what they have in common, what they don't have in common. And then over the years, because your life changes, your work changes, but there's always some kind of core that's in there. It's
that comes through.
Yeah.
So when you're not paying attention, maybe when when you get to focus on this,
when you're really doing good art, you're not present. It's like being a channel for the muses.
I agree.
It's not always there, but when it happens, like when you said the writing the music.
Yes.
It just was in your head, and then it came out. There's no other feeling as exhilarating.
It is like being not existing almost.
Yeah.
And Will Higgs was the name?
Hips.
Was he a Mason Gross guy? Or?
No, that was in Texas.
Oh.
In my undergrad. He was really an amazing teacher. I've had a couple of really good teachers. Many actually. Lucky girl.
Coyote?
That's actually an Arctic fox.
Oh.
Yeah. And that's all about snow and probably blindness. Yeah.
With just a hint of color. That's actually in the image?
That's just me putting it in.
Okay.
I don't need color right now.
No.
Sometimes I'll use color, but not very often. I really like bare minimum. Like in the Cindy Slayer, I'm like, okay, I've got gesso, lead, paper. That's it. It's like with the minimum of means, what can you do? Is more exciting to me than so much stuff.
Yeah.
So, and then the challenge is to make it interesting enough that someone would want to look at it every day.
Yeah. Yeah, the ears I can see. Who's after Foxy? Ah.
Yeah. This one's more recent, so I don't have no idea.
That's very intimate, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I always keep him high in the front at the store because he sort of is watching over us.
Does he want to eat us, or he's protective?
No, he's a protector.
Okay.
He's a protector.
He looks like.
Yeah.
Come on. Gorgeous. Incredible.
This tiger is when we were in lockdown. It's spring 2020. And he's big. He's life size. He's very big. And he flowed out like water. He's in water, but it was a piece that flowed. And he's very, I don't know, pensive. I think it's called ablution. And there's a slight reference back to it's the symbol for the kind of kung fu I do. But that's my own personal thing. It doesn't have to go into anything else.
You mean the style of kung fu, or how you express yourself?
I do.
Okay.
Yeah. So a lot of the movements are tiger-like.
Now, again, you shared some images, and I decided to put these two insects together because I didn't think they were from the same time period. And I thought it would be interesting to hear about. Rand, can you show us the next one and then we'll come back to this one? Because they're so similar, but so very different also. So can we go back to the previous? Thank you.
Yeah, that was from about that same time period as that other wolf, the spring of 2020. And it's very small. It's only this big. And sometimes I like to use ripped pieces of paper that are left over and see what I can do. And I was trying to do that ethereal thing, and it didn't work at all. But it is what it is. And that was the first of the bees that I did. And then I read this wonderful book, The Murmur of the Bees. And there's a character in there he's as a child, he's covered with bees, and the bees can communicate with him. And it's a Mexican realism, which is wonderful. And it's much more realistic than I'm making it sound. And but I fell in love with Simona Pio. And so this other piece.
Is that the author's name?
That's the character's name.
Okay.
Yeah. I just love the way he moved through the world. And he was amazing. So that's when this summer I did what I call the big bee, which is in honor of Simona Pio. Yes. And that's a really large bee. It's much more.
Which is the next one, right?
Yeah.
And that's ethereal.
Yes. This one came out very elegant, which I don't think of bees as elegant. Yeah. And the wonderful thing about this bee, I'm very pragmatic, but the whole time I was drawing it, a bee would come to the window and then he would go away and he'd bring back friends. There were these big bees hovering outside my 5th floor walk-up apartment. And Jimmy would just tease me. He's like, they came to see the big bee. and I was like, I don't know, whatever. But when I was done drawing and I took it to be mounted, they disappeared. Oh my gosh. So
that is wild. And the book.
Yeah. So grateful. One day at the Luna Rosa, Roxanne Hoffman came in and she was interested in some of my images to illustrate poetry in her books. And she does Poets Wear Prada in Hoboken, New Jersey.
And
she's a publisher.
She's been a guest here on Hoboken Talks.
Wonderful.
It was a fabulous evening.
And anyway, so I was showing her my work. And then at some point I said, well, I have a manuscript. And then if you want to read it, and she said, sure, I'll read it. So she read my book and then she decided to publish it. So it was a really nice moment for me. And it's so organic.
Yeah. And why I can't believe I've never asked this. Why the one name? It's so silly, but
I have no idea. But we all know that Cindy Slay is really Slay. That's like just her cover story. So this was from a rough time in my life when I was raising my kid. It was just a very, very difficult time. And so I said to one of my employees, Mark McBaron Kessler, I said, I want to run away and I can't. And he said, well, create a character that runs away. And so for at least 2-3 years, I would be just writing all this stuff about what happened to Cindy Slay. And everywhere I went, I was writing. And I would come and I'd read it to my employees. And it was just an amazing experience. But I never edited. I never did anything. It was very cathartic. And then I just stuck it under the bed and never thought about it until Roxanne came by. And so it was quite an experience to have someone actually pay attention to it.
No, it's a beautiful book, and I'm trying to find the right words that I don't know, words I'm comfortable saying in front of you. It's so brave and bold and personal. And I mean, it's not like you're opening a vein, but you are. But it's not a bad thing because you're bathing it in such in so many metaphors and so many visual things, that the emotions that are really deep and difficult are, I don't know, not palatable. You don't run away from them. They're not scary. You're able to, well, anyway, this was my experience of it. You're able to stay with the journey and the character and the details. And, but it's extremely, I think it's extremely brave book.
Thank you.
So,
Appreciate
yeah,
it.
hats off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not so different from the other things, because it's like you create a personal mythos. Anybody does when you grow up. And if you're an artist, then you delve back into that all the time.
Yeah.
And whether the expression comes in one way or another, you're just creating experience.
But then sharing it is it's one thing to have that conversation with yourself, or to think, or to feel things and name things and put words, but to put it on paper and say to another person, check this out, that's a big deal. It's a big deal, I think.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And then we have a lovely picture. The next one, I don't remember where we are. Yeah, books. Books. And that's a really big painting, because you had that in the store for a while.
5x8. It was
horse.
built by another Hoboken resident. I'm so grateful.
Oh.
And that came before the book.
Yeah.
But Roxanne designed the cover. She did an amazing job. I'm horrible at graphics. I really am. I'm terrible.
Beautiful. Thank you, Tiffany Fisher. Agreed. And in many mediums. What are we looking at?
This was a great day. This was 2016, and I went to a martial arts tournament, and those are my wonderful friends and people I work out with, Ahmed and Shauna, and we went to compete. And it was an incredible weekend, and then I just love trying to do things, and I was terrified the whole time, but I did it anyway, which is why I can do this, because I'm terrified now. And as I told my niece once, when she was having our picture taken with all, she said, I'm so nervous. I'm like, we're all nervous all the time. Just go ahead and do it. And but that was a really good day.
Well, of course, I mean, this is the end of the day. I mean, you're just glowing. Everybody's glowing.
We just had such a great
achievement.
Time. And we were all together, and it's such a thing where you're all working hard to try and do something better. And that's one of the things that bonds us more than conversation. And I love that part of
witnessing each other, or
I don't know, interacting and helping each other work out, and pushing each other. I don't know, because it's nonverbal. But as an artist, I just find it compelling. It's a different kind of expression.
And you said kickboxing, but I also sometimes hear you say, I don't know,
Taekwondo.
Yeah, like what are you?
Well, with COVID, Master Padilla is allowing me to be a guest in the Taekwondo class. And so of course I have to learn. So when they start doing forms and stuff, I'm just like trying to look at the computer and figure it out. And then Monique and I practice on Mondays, and sometimes she'll help me out. And so it's a new thing for me, and it's very challenging. And I just love it. He's an incredible teacher and a great coach. So it's an amazing experience. I've been doing it since I was 48. I didn't start it as a child, but there's something about it that just is right for me. It allows me to do many, many other things I would never have been able to do, because I would have been too hidden.
Interesting. Well, and now here's the question is, I mean, obviously you're drawn to it. You started for some reason. And was there something that you didn't expect would happen that then happened after, I don't know, 3 years or 10 years, and I'm talking like as a, what do we call it? Not retronaut, psychonaut. Like, you know that phrase is
but
it's like astronauts are people that travel in space, and psychonauts are people that travel with their psyche.
Okay.
So, and an internal,
well, I started because my adopted son, he was in Taekwondo, and I would go. He wanted me to be there, so I'd go and sit, and I would just be there in the space in the front room, and so he would feel assured. And I did that for many years, and I used to go to his tournaments and stuff. And then I remember one day I walked up and I said, I want to do kickboxing. So I said, well, don't you want to take one class or something? I said, no, I'm going to do this. and so then I did that for a long time. And at some point, Master Padilla invited Sifu Vizio to come to the school, and he teaches, and he was Master Padilla's teacher from when he went to the Olympics. And so he came, and I was the only girl, and there were like 30 people. I'll never forget the first day I'm like sitting on the floor, and Sifu pointed at me, I see you. I was like, ah! But it's been, and it went on, and I love it. It's just amazing. And what was surprising to me was after all those years that Sir invited me to take that class. That was the most surprising thing, because I'm not adept. I just like to try. There are many people that are adept. I am not one of them. I'm a little more kaflunta, but I work with it as best I can, you know. So, yeah.
Unexpected answer, I would say. What's next? It's great to have the pictures to guide us. All right, now what are we looking at here?
This is my senior prom with Jim Souffle, my lovely husband, who I'm still married to.
And where are we?
This is at my home where I grew up, 2957 Old Welsh Road, which I hope will be a book one day.
In what town?
In Willow Grove, Pennsylvania. Oh. Yeah.
That is a beautiful lemony. Is there crochet happening? Is it paisley? Do you remember?
I don't know. My mother made it. We sewed a lot. Jimmy and I were never used to having our picture taken together.
Oh, we had to do. I said, look, can we put the before, not before and after, but thank you, Rand.
So that was when I was like 17.
Adorable. Yeah.
He is adorable. Absolutely.
No, both of you together and having the pictures next to each other.
Yeah.
Lovely. And he, Oh, what now?
No,
okay. I'm confused with all these beautiful.
Well, the house is very important to me, and I actually write about it in Cindy Slay. Because on the back porch, which you can't see here, my father told me, because they dug huge boulders out of the ground. They didn't know what to do with them, so they put them under the back porch. And as a child, I used to play back there, and I'd be like, are they really under there? I don't know. It was like a source of magic. But my father had a way of doing that. Is this the same
house that you were standing in front of?
Yeah,
okay, but this is the rear view?
Oh, this is the front view. That's the door
still under
that
construction.
We were in front of. Yeah. So my father's family and my mother's family every weekend would travel to this area of land, and they built the house together. They would stay in pup tents and cook on an open fire. My grandfather, my cousins, they felled 40 trees from the land, which we used in our fireplace for many years.
So what year is this about?
After the Second World War. He was in the Second World War. So I wasn't born when this was happening. Mm-hmm. But it amazes me. It's part of the great generation that, what did they do on the weekend? They built a house, and he did it with his brothers. And
then you get in the pickup, and you go and you get your cinder blocks, and
Yep, and they had a plan, and they taught themselves how to do it. And so I think that's part of where I get anything can be done, because when I look at what these people did, it's amazing.
Right. Things are possible.
Yeah. Yeah.
Same house.
Absolutely. And that really big tree that's blocking lot, that oak tree, that was like a tiny sapling in our neighbor, Nick Katara's yard when we were teenagers. And my father got Jimmy and his friend to help him dig it up and plant it in the front yard. And I love that now. It's like 3 stories tall.
It's huge. It's huge.
Yeah. And this is a picture before they even built the house. And that's my grandfather, Eckenroth. And my mother is with the kneeling down with the brunette hair. Mm-hmm. And then that's the back of my cousin Betty. Mm-hmm. And my aunts Marie and Elsie. And there's the pup tent on the left that they would sleep in. And
I had an Aunt Marie.
Yeah, she was great.
Oh.
She would drink beer and play pinochle with the men. I liked her.
Yeah.
Um,
So gathering wood.
Gathering, the men cutting the trees. And
By
there's a
hand.
great tree story
By hand.
where, they were cutting a tree down. It fell over, and it actually fell on my cousin's legs. And everyone was terrified, but it had rained so much in the 2 weeks before, he sunk into the mud, and nothing happened to him. Yeah,
that's nuts. I thought you were going to say the tree was old and dead and it just crumbled, but no, he
just sunk in. Yeah.
Oh my God, that's lucky.
Yeah, and that's my mother's brother, Uncle Fred, and Uncle Joe Lusa. I still have a secrets box with treasures in it buried in the backyard under a dogwood tree that I've been tempted to go back and ask them if I can dig it up.
Do you think you could find it?
Oh, absolutely. I know exactly where it is. I know that land like I know my own body. It was a catalyst for so many things. And my father was a great storyteller.
Yeah.
So, we would go to the Montgomeryville Mart, we would buy trees, and I would plant them with him, and we'd watch them grow. Or if I went to my uncle's house, I would get seeds from the Johnny Jump Ups.
I was going to say, did you have a vegetable garden?
Oh my God, yeah. We had we would feed half the neighborhood. We would have dinners of fresh corn that was picked like 10 minutes ago. Right. I never knew we were poor. I didn't. And we had the most amazing playground because my father would build it. And it was just crazy. We didn't have those swings that went up and down. We had swings like in the playground.
So when you went to your prom, how big was the class approximately? And how many other girls had went for a store-bought dress or made their dresses at home?
Oh, they never knew I made my own clothes. Okay. I wouldn't share that. No, that was way too scary.
Right.
High school's very scary.
Oh, yeah.
I can remember Jimmy's parents saying, "Oh, these are the best years of your life." And we looked at each other and, "Oh, no, please don't say that." I found it terrifying. It's so stratified, and there's little mobility.
Yeah.
Oh, and that's the Stiglich brothers. My father's the one on the left. He was a big guy. He had his pinky ring is big for my thumb. Huge hands and feet for that time, especially a size 13 Triple E shoe.
Holy
Stood
cow.
about 6'3". Big voice, very scary.
Paul Bunyan.
Wonderful, yes. And that's Uncle Stevie to the right of him. That's the brothers, and that's when they first dug out the foundation.
Smiling. They're all
they're having a ball.
Yeah.
Doing is joy.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. This is the Luna Rosa. Yeah.
And that's one of your?
Yeah, that's one of the small. I do these small 12-inch paintings. I call it practice. Just so that you're not so serious about everything all the time. It's just good to keep. I had a teacher named Jack Henderson. He said you should draw or paint every day. It should be like some things that you do every day. You can grow a little at a time. Yeah.
And the store, Talk about your journey as being a business owner in town.
It was so much to learn. It's the only job other than art making that I could do because it's always changing. It's totally organic. You never quite feel like you know what you're doing. You're always like trying to figure out. It has to be something I love and the customer loves, and it becomes its own ego. I always talk about the Luna Rosa has a certain bandwidth of items that it's going to have to do with light. It's going to have to do with texture, with softness, and a lot of reflectivity. And
it's a very, again, I'm going to say abstract, but they're not, I don't know what the word is.
But if you walk in the store, you'll have a sense of a child. You'll see iridescence. You'll see light playing on things. You'll turn the snow globe upside down. So it's to give you that sense of delight. And it's my safe place. It's a lot of people's safe place. I wanted to create a space, especially in the city can be hard, where you could come in and it would be the way I want the world to be, where people were kind and where you could see beautiful things and you were allowed to touch them. I love the children. I love, it's great fun. It's just, and I can make a living at the same time. It's a miracle.
Phenomenal.
Oh, that's the lingerie shop, which I sold that to my wonderful employees, Gilly and Deb, and they're carrying on the tradition, which is great.
And Galatea, I don't remember the Greek story.
It's a wonderful story about a sculptor that makes a statue. He was arrogant. He said, I'm going to make a statue more beautiful than any woman. And he did, and fell in love with it. And then he would drape her in jewels and all these things.
Oh my gosh.
And he prayed to Aphrodite for her to come to life, and she did. And her name was Galatea. So for me in that store, it was about a woman coming alive. Yeah.
To her most beautiful, herself that she didn't even know was as beautiful as she is.
Yeah. And there's lovely Laura. And that she works with me, and I've known her since the early 90s, and we all love her so. And she's just so playful.
Big laugh.
Oh, a very big laugh. It's one of my favorite images of her. And we have fairy lights around the store, and she just decorated herself one day. We have a lot of fun at the Luna.
Mm.
These are the little glass animals, which are one of my favorite things because we give them to the children that come in. And, part of it is so that their folks can shop. But I love watching them pick and all their different personalities.
They're tiny, and they have to be handmade. It's like a pencil at the end of an eraser. They're tiny.
Yep.
Yeah. They're beautiful.
And they're tiny, so they get really into it, and they're so gentle with them. It's just amazing to watch them. Mm. It's really fun, and they collect them. And I'm always telling them, you can make stories and stuff. Nobody's done it yet. But on Halloween, when they come around, they'll tell me how many. Oh, this is Elle. I love Elle. She is the most amazing little girl. And I've known her. The other thing about owning a store in a wonderful town like Hoboken, I knew her when she was in her mama's belly. And she's grown to be this beautiful young lady, little girl. And she's just amazing. Mm-hmm. And she's one of my favorite people. And we give them stickers of the moon. They can put them themselves. And she's very shy. Mm-hmm. But she's a beautiful spirit. Yeah, beautiful spirit. I can't remember her name, but she was just loving that pillow so much.
Fuzziness, fuzzy soft.
We let the kids play, you know, and sometimes the parents worry they're going to break something, and I'm like, I fold that in. I don't care. I really don't. Because I want them to be able to have a good experience. We had magnifying glasses for a while. That's me with a little one. We're walking around looking at everything magnified.
Yeah. She's
and I think that might be Jimmy's foot. I'm not sure her hand. It's part of Jimmy sitting there. Yeah. They're having a good time. This is a wonderful old image. Deb Gitchen took this picture. It was in the front of the Hoboken Reporter Christmas section.
Wow.
Probably in about 1992, I think it is. Yeah.
Nice pose. I like that.
That's being silly.
Oh, you're holding a hat box?
Yes, I sold hat boxes. Yeah. It was fun. And one of my customers went down to DC, and she told somebody about my shop. And this is an article about tactile and smell and all of the things that can make a store better. It was in Business 96. Mm-hmm. So it was just a nice moment.
What is Business 96?
It's a Chemical Bank magazine. I don't even know if it still exists.
Okay.
But so it was talking about the things that we've been talking about.
Yeah. Look at your chameleon, like transformations too. It's so different than the previous picture.
I know.
And so, I don't know.
It's true.
Yeah, thank you. It's like that's your sister.
This was a professional
That's your wacky
photographer.
sister.
Yes.
This is your, the stern
This was
businesswoman.
serious, very serious.
Yeah. And this is like that pose is so traditional. They probably asked you, put your fist under your chin.
Yeah.
And this is sort of a classic
Luna Rosa window.
Luna Rosa.
Yeah.
And the name? And is it Rosa or Rosa, or it doesn't matter?
Luna Rosa.
Luna Rosa.
It's Italian for the pink moon. it comes from a song that one of my favorite singers sings, Caetano Veloso. He's Brazilian, and he sings this song, Luna Rosa. I saw it in an Almodovar movie, and he actually sings in the movie, and I'm like, who is this guy? And I just got all of his discs and started scanning, and I just was obsessed with him for about 10 years. But he sings this lovely song, and I, of course, fancy myself Luna Rosa. So
it's a woman, or
I guess,
or
I don't know, because it's in another
feminized
language.
Okay.
I don't really know. And he has a very high voice. It's just beautiful. You can look him up on YouTube. And I decided I wanted the store to be Luna Rosa, and everybody kept saying, they're going to think it's an Italian restaurant. I'm like, I don't care.
There is an Italian. I don't know if it's two S's, but sometimes I would Google it, and I would get to the Italian restaurant.
I'm like,
who cares?
Whatever.
Yeah.
And my beautiful friend, a fellow student and artist, Belle Koblenz, designed the logo for me. And she did a wonderful job and helped me with a lot of my graphics for the store. And we went to school together in Texas. And we're still friends. She's lovely.
Yeah.
Oh
no!
And there's
Who's
my
that?
dear friend Lois Dilivio, who I call Lolo.
What is she wearing?
Oh,
what is that?
Lois Dilivio comes to the Luna Rosa every holiday season and plays beautiful carols on her fiddle.
Oh my God!
And she comes like a Christmas angel. And we have so much fun.
So much fun, but I won't say in my own defense, but just my modesty, humility. What is it? My insecurity about my appearance. I swear to you, I think Jim took 200 pictures, and this is like everything else is like, and this one is just like, oh my God, well, that's the picture. Please use that picture. Delete everything else. Anyway,
you don't worry about what doesn't work. We show the people what does work.
There we go. But somehow I need to disclaim. It doesn't matter.
No,
anyway, I have
you're beautiful.
So much fun, and that was almost my wedding dress. I love that dress so much. And then I'm like, it looked like a Christmas tree dress. So I pulled it out and
we're
I'm still
waiting
to get the hat. I want a hat that's like an angel on the top of a tree.
Maybe a Pope's hat, like Moira Rose. But every Christmas, and then we did that Thursday nights on the 1200 block, and people would come, and we'd have champagne, and different stores had different things. It was so right before 2020. Yeah. It was just so delightful.
It might happen this year.
And people would sing with you too. We sang carols.
Oh, yes.
It was great. It was great.
There we go. Oh my.
That's it.
Well, we have other stuff to talk about. But yeah, that went fast. Does anybody have any questions? Who's watching us out there? Thank you so much for tuning into Hoboken Talks. What did you like? What did you have a question that maybe we didn't talk about? Or, what else is there to say? What else? Let's just talk about Hoboken. Like, I don't know.
Hoboken's the best.
There you go.
It is.
And
you
why
can
is
walk
that?
everywhere. I don't own a car.
Yeah.
And when I go to my workout, I'm working out with people I see on the street. There's people I say hello to on the street. I don't even know their name. But it would just be rude to walk past them and not say hello anymore. Right. The street life in Hoboken, you come across somebody, it's such spontaneous living. You can go, okay, let's go to Way and have a cup of coffee,
The Hudson River.
I'm dying to do that. No, they have those boats from Hawaii out there, and everybody's doing it in time.
Seen them. I remember the kayaks, but
it's amazing.
There's a different thing now.
And then you can go actually out into the river. You have to get trained. You have to go and learn. Right. But and it's free. It's amazing what's going on in this town. It really is. This amazing museum where you can look at all of these things from long time ago. And all this
gorgeous Washington Street exhibit with so many things to look at and stories and pictures and this beautiful Donna O'Grady in the upstairs gallery here. I think a very successful show, and some of these and you see how she's using the
She's the old
tiles.
tiles. From the
Yes.
ceiling tile.
Yeah, the ceiling tiles, which you sell at Luna Rosa.
Absolutely.
And
My father worked at the shipyard, right in front of what used to be Hudson Tavern.
how is that possible?
And I don't know, but he did when he was very young. And when he heard us moving to Hoboken, he's like, "Oh, I don't know, Dee, that's a really rough town," because he was a sailor.
Right. Yeah.
And he says, "A lot of bars." I'm like, "Yeah, there's still a lot of bars, but it's not so bad now."
Wow.
But yeah, it's amazing.
What other stories did he have from Hoboken? Just, well, he wasn't going to tell them to you at that point.
No,
too
he wouldn't
harsh.
tell me those stories.
Right. I'm sure they're good ones, though.
Yeah, it's great.
Well, I don't know what to say. I don't know where we are. What's going on? I'm going to play with papers for a little bit while we. Yeah, I think I'm. What did we miss? Well, do you? I know you usually participate in the artist tour,
Oh, every year.
and this is what? This is August, so we don't know yet what
No.
what they'll do, or
No.
and sometimes you show at the store, and sometimes you show at your studio.
Lately I've been showing, since I have the studio, I've been showing at my studio because there's more artists in the Monroe Center of the Arts, which you haven't checked that out. You should. There's lots of fun things to do back there, and there's more artists down at Newman Leather now, I think, than at where I am. But I have the most amazing space, which I share with the lovely Lois Dilivio,
Yes,
where she's making music in the
gorgeous
area that half of the studio, and it's beautiful, and I love it. It's a room of one's own, which I think is so important for so many people. And so I'm hoping they'll have the tour, but we have to wait and see.
Yeah.
But in the meantime, I'm grateful that I can still be making art.
I still remember that once I was there, and there was a guy that wanted the fish picture or something, and then you didn't know where it was, and then it made me so unhappy because anyway, the match couldn't be done in the moment, because when somebody gets your work and wants it in their own home, and then you can't make that happen, so it's like, oh, that's terrible. That's terrible.
Yeah, that's okay. We always make more things.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I'm going to start the wrap up, I guess, because there's I want to do it right. Okay. I'm gonna lean on these lovely words that somebody has shared. Thank you, Rand. Well, looks like we're at the end. Thanks to our guest, Diane Stiglich.
Thank you.
I'm Lois Dilivio. Thank you for watching. Next week, not next week, coming soon, Reverend Anthony Forbes, who I don't know much about him, but I know that he works at the Hoboken shelter, and I can only imagine the kind of stories that he will have to tell. Wonderful. After that, longtime Hoboken resident Irene Soboloff. These are all wonderful talks, obviously. We'd like to thank the late Donald Shackett for his generosity. Donald was a longtime Hoboken resident who was able to make a donation to the museum in his will, and that is much so appreciated. Thanks also to the New Jersey Historical Commission for recently granting us some funds to upgrade some of our Hoboken Talk studio technology. And of course, we thank the Applied Development Company for their generous support through the years. Applied provides the museum with museum space and supports the museum in so many other ways. Don't forget, if you'd like to watch this episode later, it will be on the museum's YouTube channel, along with all our other shows and videos. Thanks to everyone from here at the Hoboken Historical Museum. Become a member. Stop by and see our exhibits at 1301 Hudson Street. Explore our website at hobokenmuseum.org. we have a fun gift shop too. All right, thanks so much for tuning in. And what you're seeing now is a lovely collage presentation of the ginormous exhibit that it just went up on the main floor here. I think just last Sunday was the opening. Very well attended, and all sorts of goodies. And again, in the upper gallery where we are broadcasting from, Light at Play in Hoboken. New paintings, I might venture to say cityscapes, by Donna O'Grady. Beautiful work. I'm looking at it right now. Just gorgeous. So come on by. Up. Don't forget the breezeway. What do we call it, Rand? What do you say?
Passageway.
Passageway. Look what's happening in the passageway. There's ping pong. There can be duck pin bowling. Ballet is coming back. We think it should also be for adults. I don't know why just little girls get to have their ballerina fantasy. What if I want to come and have my plies and second positions and all that? So yeah, there's always lots going on in the passageway. Thank you again so much for joining us, and stay tuned for the next lovely Hoboken Talks. Maybe 2 weeks from now. I'm not exactly sure. Don't quote me. Thank you. Good night.
Good night. Thank you.